Hey there, everybody. Thomas with Basecamp Trading. It is Thursday, April 9th, and we're going to take a look here at the MQ Cycle Finder Indicator. This is a tool that we've been getting a lot of questions about here recently. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in here and talk a little bit about what this thing is doing and how we use it. So the Cycle Finder is this oscillator you see down here at the bottom, and it's looking for both long and short-term market cycles. And the way that we determine these is based on whether or not the histograms are above or below the midpoint, the zero level, and then also based on the color of the histograms. So green histogram bars mean bullish short-term cycle. Red histogram bars mean bearish short-term cycle. Histogram bars above zero mean entering into a longer-term upcycle, or a larger upcycle, meaning expecting a bigger move. And histograms entering into the negative territory, breaking below the midpoint, meaning we're entering into a longer-term bearish cycle. So what we look at, and one of the ways that we use these tools, we can use it as a filter for bias, which overall direction based on the long-term cycles, meaning if histograms are above that midpoint, we're only looking for longs. If they're below the midpoint, we're only looking for shorts. And we can also use it to help us filter out things like candlestick patterns to help increase our likelihood of success. For example, if you go over here and we look at gold the other day, where we put in this low, we had what we call a reversal doji, or also a morning star, where you gap down, have a doji, and then gap up and close up. And what we're looking at here is when we had that doji pattern, that same day, we also had a short-term bullish cycle starting. So it went from bearish cycle to saying, okay, bearish cycle's coming to an end, and we're starting a short-term bullish cycle. And then it shifted to longer-term bullish cycle the very next day. So we can use that to confirm that that's a good setup for a move higher. Just like, for those of you that are members at Basecamp, you know what a run on the stops is. When we had this run on the stops over here, okay, when we had that run on the stops, we also were entering into a short-term bearish cycle. So we ran stops and had a short-term bearish cycle, which means we had a higher probability of this pulling back and selling off from there. All right, makes sense? Now, with that being said, the other thing we can use the Cycle Finder for is things like divergences. And we pay attention to the indicator line for divergences. Or if we look back here, we had high number 1, and then we went to a higher high with this around the stops, but our indicator line on the Cycle Finder was significantly lower, and the histograms were weakening. So you can also use it as a divergence tool. Okay, so the main three ways that we use the MQ Cycle Finder, short-term and long-term cycles are the first two, and then with divergences with that indicator line. All right, so that is it for today. I will see you all in the trading room bright and early on Monday. Have a happy Easter, everyone. Stay safe, and until next time, happy trading, everybody.